Yes, indeed. Here we are. We're back again. Pardon my congestion. For another edition of the Astro Weather. That's right. Thank you for your patience as I uh, to get here this morning. It's been an interesting journey. Let's put it that way. How is everybody? How are you doing? How are you doing on your True Hemp Science? You know, if you get True Hemp Science, you get these cool little stickers that come along with your order. You can just put them in places to remind people that True Hemp Science is a good thing. I gotta say, the other night when I was having a difficult time sleeping, the sleep gummies, they were the magic ticket, the absolute magic ticket. And that was on Saturday and Sunday night. And I had really needed the sleep. You know, I had gone for like 3 days straight without any real sleep. I mean, just barely getting sleep for a number of reasons. It wasn't because I was doing drugs or anything. It was just like too much energy, um, lots of kind of existential angst going through my head. And those 3 days really screwed me up, just in terms of my body just not really being able to completely function. So, what's this, boys and girls? Make sure you get your sleep. Eat your peas and carrots and get your sleep. This is very important because if you don't get your sleep, it will eventually catch up with you. Now, I have always had a problematic relationship with sleep my entire life. But now I'm going to have to make sleep my friend, as they say. All right, let's see. Who we got here? We're running a little bit behind, but we get there. New next. My favorite thumbnail yet. The High Priest, the High Lion Priest. Benito Diaz, what's up? Nice lights here. Susan's here. PMSO. Nick's show last night, taking a wrecking ball to politics. Looks like he's doing a part 3 on Carlson expose. And Friday doing it to Owens Mercury drug rags. What? What Nick Fuentes is doing is he is essentially walking through people how we got here. And that is not an easy thing to do. And when I say we, I'm talking about humanity, Israel, the Jewish, American, Israeli power state axis. And it's not just the quote unquote Jews who are behind the acceleration of this. I don't know what would you call it? Co-optation of Israel and the United States. I mean, he gets into William F. Buckley. He gets into the death of. So basically, what he does is he sets up kind of this program where there are people known as paleoconservatives. And Pat Buchanan was always one of the leading voices of the paleoconservative political front in Washington, D.C. These were the true American firsters, right? Buchanan, maybe Barry Goldwater a little bit, but Buchanan was the tip of the spear. And so what they did is they created kind of a counterculture, conservative body of work that was sort of gatekeeping the Pat Buchanans of the world. And that had to do with people like William F. Buckley Jr. and what happens at Skull and Bones. And he gets into the whole birth of the neocons. It's a really comprehensive look at how we got here today and who the players are, who they continue to be, who funds them. And it's once you get into sort of the tentacles of it all, your mind is blown. It's like it's everywhere. Right? The tentacles of this system are everywhere. They're spread throughout the planet. So if you want to have like a different discussion of what a deep state looks like, I would suggest you start there. Of the live in 12 hours is really just 5 minutes. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm certain that is the nature of this energy for those of us who cannot get a good night's sleep. Was it always this way? I remember I had this Uncle Johnny. He snored like a motherfucker. He was the first person that I ever heard snore in my life. It was pretty impressive, I have to say. Let's see, who else? I can honestly say in the last 3 weeks, sleep is an overrated commodity. Well, don't mess with it. It's there for your well-being, trust me. Smash on that like button like Gallagher on some watermelons. Gallagher's making a comeback. Isn't he? Is he still around? More easier, Catherine Rose is here. Hi, Catherine. Let's see. Oops, says live lover. Mercury still in shadow. We're doing fine, aren't we? I thought we were doing fine. I set it up last night. I have to check my own work now. You guys are forcing me to check my own work. Yep, it's live. That's right. It's live, kids. We are live. When we get into the weather, let's do that. You deserve that. You deserve some weatherage. A happy solar return to all you August 12ers. And we're almost out of Leo. Can you imagine that? We're almost out of Leo time, man. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer, man. I like Leo time. Let's see. I used to be an honorary Leo for that. Who wouldn't mind being an honorary Leo for that? Isn't that something David could do? Can he grant people like honorary Leo status? I think he should be able to. All right, here we go. Mercury, El Directo Mundo. Da, 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 da. And now we climb out of the pits of our hearts, step by step, rung by rung. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Batman, played by Christian Bale, who I think is the best Batman. Does he have a funny voice? Yes, but he's still the best Batman. And it's that he's fighting Bane, right? But he's not really fighting Bane yet. There's this young woman, or at least we think it's a woman, who's in this prison cell, and you have to scale these walls in order to get out of it, make this jump. And it's really, it's quite a commitment. And eventually, Christian Bale's Batman character figures it out, right? He figures out how to resurrect himself out of this very dark hole, and to do it in a way where one false step and you're plummeting to your death, right? To me, this is Mercury. I know it's a little dramatic, but Mercury and Leo is dramatic. But that's what it feels like now. It feels like, okay, we got to get out of this thing that we're in. And there's not a whole lot of help around. I mean, yeah, we got sextile with Mars. There's some good things happening here, but we're climbing out of a hole with Mercury retrograde. This is exactly what we're doing, and it takes heart in order to do that. It takes heart in order to steel your reserves and foster your senses in order to make that journey. And you have to stare death in the eye, right? Mercury Pluto opposition. You're looking at death. You're staring death down. Again, it's a metaphor for that scene where he's trying to Jack be nimble, Jack be quick out of that hellish pit. But you still have to be aware that death is everywhere. It's on the walls. It's in a misstep. It's in the passing glimpse of somebody passing you by that doesn't feel like you should have an opportunity to jump out of that hellish hellhole. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. So I feel like this Mercury-Pluto opposition, especially now that it's direct, it's a bit more affirmative. What are you living for? What are you living for? Because that's what the Pluto-Mercury opposition is about. You have to rededicate yourself to something, and especially as it goes direct in a fixed sign, which allows you to sort of plant your flag. What are you dedicating yourself towards? You got 16 degrees before Mercury catches up with the sun, and that's going to be a while because that sun is trekking, right? 1 degree at a time, 1 degree at a day. Mercury will eventually pick up some speed and will eventually catch up. But for now, it's kind of like you're on your own. Yeah, I mean, there's some allies. You've got the sextile to Uranus, and You have the sextile to Mars and trying this Saturn and the moon now as well in Aries and Neptune. So I would say that Mercury definitely does have support. But at the end of the day, you can have all the support you want. And it's just you and your final destination that's staring back at you. So that's right here. And maybe that should be your motivation. That should be your motivation in order to get out of the place that you're currently in. Right? It took a long ways. It took a lot of work for Mercury to go retrograde and get back there, get hooked into that Plutonian opposition. It's like, okay, you're here now. Let's see what kind of skills you have in order to be able to rededicate yourself towards coming out of the, for lack of a better term, abyss. For sure. Did you guys get up this morning and watch the Venus-Jupiter conjunction? You'll still be able to get it tomorrow. So if you didn't get it today, today's the closest, but tomorrow will be good. It'll still be good. So if you slept on it today, you can connect back into it tomorrow. What's interesting is that there's not a lot going on there, is there? We're almost in singleton territory with Venus, Jupiter, and it almost feels like like there's this, I don't know, bastion of goodwill that shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? It's almost like this island of sanity just hanging out there in space. It's like, hey, come on over. It's a cosmic rest stop. And we have fresh coffee here and maps of the solar system. I mean, that's kind of what this feels like. It almost feels like a luxury, Maybe it'd be worthwhile tomorrow if you haven't gotten up. You get one last chance at kind of luxuriating this Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It's a gift. It's a gift amongst all of the connectivity. It's sort of out of time. You know what I mean? Like it's out of time. It's like returning to another era of your life or another era of civilization. When I think of Venus-Jupiter conjunctions, especially in Cancer, they just seem much more sophisticated, kind of high Victorian with that Venus, lots of like manners and protocol and not necessarily in a bad way, but in a way where the universe was ordered. And it was through the order of the universe that people were able to have, for all intents and purposes, a high trust society. There's also something very kind of Garden of Eden-ish about that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. That's one of the things that a lot of times when we look at planets or we have a static relationship with them in a 2D medium like paper. But when you can go outside and connect with a planetary aspect like this and really, really connect with it, like what is the energy there? What do you really feel? Because none of it is separate from you. right? This is the thing that sometimes we get lost in the sauce a bit with. Like nothing is separate, even though maybe thousands of miles away on either side. Uh, it doesn't mean that it's not part of who you are. Intrinsically, it is who you are. All of this is who you are. So when you see that, when you get to experience the embodiment of it, what does that mean? How does it feel? These are really important um, questions to be explored, and you got another day to do it. So get out there and do it. Report back. Tell us how it feels like. Mars is in Libra, so everybody's been deputized with Mars in Libra. Are you willing to take down the bad guys with Mars in Libra? You know, it's really interesting that Trump is going off on this civil police force in Washington, D.C. Look, could they use it there? Probably. Probably. It would help on crime. But the problem in American society when it comes to crime and it comes to uh, situations where the streets are filled with the homeless and impoverished, you can't just take a band-aid to it. It is a much, 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 much bigger issue and much bigger crisis than people really understand. I mean, there's mental illness, there's all kinds of things going on. I mean, if you were to just take somebody off the streets and put them somewhere, their problems would clearly follow them, unless, of course, they were drug dealers, in which case it may not be a bad idea. But, you know, a long time ago, when I started looking at this Neptune-Saturn conjunction in Aries, collectively, I never got a really good feel for it. It always felt to me like it was going to be the sort of the worst version of white supremacist Christian nationalist. You know, like the worst version. Like I think there's probably better versions of it. You know, my own philosophy is that people should be able to live with whomever they want to live with. The Amish live with the Amish. The Mexicans live with each other in Escondido. Right. So I don't have a problem with people saying, yeah, we want to be around. You know, there was this guy, I talked about it once before. I was on a flight with him, long ass flight from San Francisco to Frankfurt. And he happened to be Jewish. And, you know, I had a pretty frank conversation about his life in America. He was a second generation Russian Jew. He was a graduate of Stanford. And in true cliche fashion, he had created a business that allowed a company to take large batches of people who were behind on their debts, and then they assigned the value system to them, and they got the ones that were the the most easily retrievable in terms of funds, and then it went downwards from there. So they were basically pre-qualifying who could pay the money back. It was just a weird sort of like computerized version of money lending, or the tracking of their. So it was a bit cliche in some ways. But I talked to this guy, and we got into a very animated discussion. And I asked him how he felt about the United States. And he said, "Oh, I love it. I remember he happens to be Jewish. I love it. It's the best country in the world." And I said, "So if our country went to war, would you send your son and daughter to go fight for the country that you love?" And his response was not immediate. He wasn't real sure about that. Okay, all right, I don't blame you on some level. And then, this gets back to the original conversation of people living where they want to live. And so I said, "So where do you really like it in the United States?" And he goes, "Oh, my favorite part of the United States is Ashland, Oregon." I said, "Really?" I said, I love Ashland, and I love the Shakespeare Festival, and I love everything about it. But, this guy's rich, by the way. Well, why don't you live there? Why don't you live in a place like Ashland? And he said, "Well, it would be very difficult for me because where I live now, Palo Alto, there's a whole group of us that have all kind of moved into the neighborhood together, and we feel stronger with our presence together." I mean, basically what he was saying was that there are a bunch of computer science geek Jewish families that live in and around Stanford, and I don't have a problem with that. Right? If that's who they choose to live with, and they're comfortable with it, that's fine. But it was interesting that the place that he really, really, really loved, he couldn't go there because he would feel like an outsider, which to some degree I completely understand. But this is what I'm talking about here with Neptune and Saturn. And now we have the moon coming into play. And it feels like, when Trump talks about hitting the streets, Washington, D.C., cleaning it up, he's not just thinking about D.C., he's thinking about New York, he's thinking about Chicago, he's thinking about almost any other place where they can deploy basically a federal police force. I don't think this is too far out of the question with a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It feels to me like the slow creep of a certain type of totalitarian fascism is starting to seep through the cracks. And for a lot of people, the gateway drug will be things like immigration, the DEI stuff, like all the things that for about a decade people were unable to deal with, and were really at the behest of these onerous social codes, if you want to call them a code. And so now those things are starting to break down, and you can begin to see people start to get rabid. They're feeling a bit rabid, and it feels to me like it's a slow crawl between uh, returning people to where they need to live, to setting up really bizarre alligator swamp cages. You know what I mean? I mean, it feels like we're definitely headed in that direction. And so today, with Mars and Libra beginning to come in and oppose Saturn, Moon, Neptune, keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on the debate of a nationalized police force, because I feel like Trump has the social credit to make it happen. He absolutely does. And I don't know if you're still following this Epstein thing, but it is getting memory hold faster than we got memory hold really fast. Do you remember that guy who used to be on MTV? Dan, what's his name? He wore his baseball cap backwards. I think he was on a couple of Seinfeld episodes. That guy got memorable really fast. Like, he was kind of a big deal for a couple of years, kind of a dude's dude, and then I don't know what happened. I guess he couldn't turn the baseball cap around. Anyway, that's kind of what Epstein's feeling like now. It's feeling very memory holy, or very memory unholy. 6 months from now, I doubt if we'll be talking about Epstein at all. Epstein, who it'll be one of the great exercises in modern, we're going to call it de-propaganda. De-propaganda. There's a lot of good energy out there today. Don't sit on it. Mars, Uranus trine, Mars, Pluto trine. If you feel justified in what you're doing, right? Don't hang back. Do not hang. Today is not a good day for bullies. I'll say that. Today is not a good bully day. If you're a bully, you better watch your ass. Mars and Libra's coming to town. It's coming to get you. All right. Let's get into our True Hemp Science story today. You know, I may have done her before, but she's such a charming woman. Such a charming woman. That let's do her again. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about Miss Cleo. That's right, Miss Cleo. Your True Hemp Science star of the day. And you know the drill about True Hemp Science. Like I said, last couple of nights, sleep gummies, they were my super ally. And there's a whole host of products. So apparently there are workarounds, excuse me, with SB1 or SB3 or whatever the fuck they're calling it. So it looks like Chris is still going to be able to do his thing. So don't forget it. And support the product, support the show. Sleep gummies are a total must. Check out some of their other elixirs there. Spend $100 or more. Type in 15MINS, and you will get your goodie bag along with your order. And it is a good goodie bag. All right, let's talk about Miss Cleo. Now, Miss Cleo is kind of interesting, right? So you got the Jamaican accent. She's Miss Cleo. She's born in Los Angeles, California. And born in 1962. And between Miss Cleo, I'm like how the fuck did Miss Cleo become Miss Cleo? You know what I mean? Were they just sitting around at the nail parlor one day having some fancy wine drinks, and Miss Cleo was born? Is that what happened? Like, what syndicate got behind? Because Miss Cleo brought in a shit ton of money. Now, the challenge with Miss Cleo is that she claimed that she was psychic, right? She claimed that she was psychic. Now, with the Dionne Warwick network, I don't know if they claimed that anybody, but Miss Cleo claimed that she had the goods. Now, oftentimes when you would call, you would not get Miss Cleo. You might get somebody else with a fake Jamaican patois. I don't know. I never called her. But she was fascinating, right? Miss Cleo from about 11:30 at night till about 2 in the morning ran television. Because that's when people were up late at night, they couldn't sleep, and they needed to have somebody to talk to. And for $2.99 a minute, Miss Cleo would do it. Now, when you look at her chart, it's kind of interesting. Like, I think Miss Cleo's got some psychic skills. I really do. She's got a Mercury-Pluto conjunction, and it's in the 12th house, right? So she's a 12th house kind of person. And then she's got that trine with the moon. And that moon in Capricorn, to me, that's like an early morning moon. Doesn't it feel that way? It's sort of like, yeah, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and the moon's in Capricorn, and I'm gripping. Let me give Miss Cleo a phone call. And she's got a Mercury trine to the moon, and Uranus trine to the moon, and Pluto. Look, I'm on the record. Miss Cleo psychic. She may not be, there are different forms of psychic. She may not be like typical watery, fluidy, flowy, but she's dialed into something. She's definitely dialed into something. And she's quick, man. She's got that Mercury Uranus conjunction in the 12th house. Is she somebody that would have connections with protocol guides or ancestors? Yes, I think so. Especially with Pluto in the 12th house. So she's got some gifts. Okay, let's go to the other side of the chart. It's kind of where the gifts get squandered a little, right? So she has Jupiter in Pisces, 6th house, healing, service, money, right? So she has that. She's got a Jupiter-Pluto opposition. That's not good. That's bad finances. And with Chiron conjunct Jupiter, yeah, she has sensitivity for sure, but I don't think her scruples as it relates to work are all that great. They're mutable. They're Piscean, right? But she also has this Jupiter trine to Neptune, which again makes her fairly intuitive. And if you look at Neptune in the second house is how we make our money. She makes her money through Neptunian means. She is either a psychic or a figurehead for other psychics. So I think there's a there with Miss Cleo. Mercury, Neptune. I think she's got some gifts. It wasn't like she just showed up one day. I want to be Miss Cleo. Virgo rising, I feel like that comes across when she's doing the commercials. But more than that, I feel like it's Venus in the first house. She's just, very kind of polite, and ingratiating in that kind of island sort of way, man. She got into some problems. You can tell she got into many problems. Saturn Neptune square. That's probably going to result in some tax issues there for the old Miss Cleo. She's coming in with the knowledge of a teacher, right? I mean, she's coming in with the knowledge of a teacher. That's South Node, Saturn, Aquarius. She's got something going on. Miss Cleo was not a fraud. Although, I think because she had succumbed to some not so great business practices and also some unusual arrangements with money, let's put it that way. Saturn Neptune square. That ultimately became the downfall of Miss Cleo. She has Mars on that midheaven. You can just see how fast the Miss Cleo psychic network grew. I mean, it was like shot out of a cannon. So she's an interesting study for sure. And I think there was a there. I don't think Miss Cleo was a full flim-flam scam girl. I think she actually had some gifts, some skills, particularly in Virgo. I mean, you've got to be able to hold your shit together with Virgo. Sun Mars sextile. I bet you she'd be fun. I bet you on a wild Cleo night, she'd be kind of crazy. Sun Neptune square. Those are hard to shake. But those are people that have confidence issues, self-esteem issues. And they always need more to fill them up, Anyway, there she is. A blast from the past. The lovely Miss Cleo. All right. That'll do it for today. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your patience. Tomorrow, we'll be here right on time. Right on time. 8 a.m. When the buzzer hits 8:00, it clicks. I'll be right here waiting for you. All right. Thanks for being here. Mods, thank you for all your help. Appreciate it. If you have any questions about astrology in general, you can leave them over on the locals page. You can leave them in the comments. I do read the comments. So if you have any questions in general about what we do here, go ahead and leave them. That said, take very good care of yourselves. Treat each other well. And God bless. Love you all. Robert Phoenix, signing off.